Hampton Council, and we will start with the pledge. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Blackburn?
Present.
Ms. Fritsch?
Present.
Mr. Midgley?
Present.
Mr. Shorley?
Present.
Dr. Johnson?
Present.
Mr. Speakman?
Present.
All right, first item on the agenda is citizen agenda matters. If there is anyone who would like to address anything to council, please step to the microphone, state your name and address and your concern. I figure we can move on to the public hearing pretty quickly. Could I get a motion to open the public hearing for the proposed 2025 operating, stormwater management, and capital improvement budgets?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Blackburn?
Favor.
Ms. Fritsch?
Favor.
Mr. Midgley?
Favor.
Mr. Shorley?
Favor.
Dr. Johnson?
Favor.
All right, now turning this over to me. Yes, it's my pleasure to present all of you to here tonight the 2025 operating, capital, and stormwater budgets for the Township of Hampton. Before I get started, big thanks to Mr. Speakman, Mr. Romacini, all of the department heads throughout this process. It was a very smooth, I think, I give Jerry a lot of credit. You really helped with that process of putting this budget together. I have a brief presentation. I promise I won't take more than 10 minutes to kind of hit the highlights of next year and what we kind of have planned. So yeah, the 2025 Township of Hampton budget. Next slide, please. Just a quick overview. Our major tax and fee funds, again, the general fund, which is our chief operating fund, the capital improvement fund, which funds most of our capital improvements, obviously, our fire fund, where our fire tax revenues come from, and then our stormwater fund. The most probably pertinent matter to the township residents, 2025 millage rates for the Township of Hampton remain unchanged. Apparently millage rates in Allegheny County for some reason have become a very sensitive matter, so I'll just get that one out of the way right now. We assessed three separate millage rates: the general fund at 1.979 mils, capital improvement fund at 0.7415 mils, and the fire fund at 0.2036 mils. So those are our major taxes, and then we have our stormwater fee, which is $115 per equivalent residential unit. And it's obviously assessed on commercial properties and institutional properties in a different way, but based on that calculation. The general fund next year is the first fund I really wanted to highlight. It is our chief operating fund. It is the largest fund of the township by far. Total revenues next year, we're anticipating about $16.5 million. It's an increase of about $339,000 or 2.1% over the 2024 budget. Taxes account for the majority of that revenue, $10.6 million. Transfers from other funds are a little smaller. It's where you see transfers from liquid fuels to fund the purchase of salt. And then the non-tax revenues, the largest of which would be our sewage fees. Those are that's a big part of that $5.3 million there. If you see to the right, taxes make up 64% of the revenues. That pie chart to the right of the township. The non-tax revenues make up 32%, and transfers are much smaller. Of the taxes, our largest one is earned income tax by far, which is different from what you'd see in most communities, but standard for what you'd see in a community like Hampton. It's $5.2 million. Usually real estate tax is the largest single tax of any community. That's $3.4 million here. Real estate transfer tax is just over $1 million. RAD sales tax, local services tax, and miscellaneous taxes, the other small taxes. I tried to break up that pie chart at the bottom just to kind of give you a breakdown, but I mean, earned income tax alone is 49% of our tax revenue. And real estate tax is 32%, real estate transfer tax is 10%. So those really make up the vast majority of our taxes. Next slide. On the expense side for the general fund, total expenses very similar to revenues, $16.5 million. General government, that accounts for the administration, the finance department, the IT department, tax collection, employee benefits, legal services. That's $3.8 million. Public safety, $3.6. You can kind of see it, but if you look to the right, the pie chart there, that's about what you would see again in a community like Hampton, where you have general government, public safety, public works, parks and recreation kind of taking up the vast majority of the municipality's general fund and operating budget, about 75%. Again, expenses, $339,000 or 2.1% above what we budgeted for 2024. So, the next slide. The capital improvement fund, that gives you an idea of the revenues and kind of where everything's coming from. We assume cash balances to start 2025 of $950,000. The capital improvement tax, the millage generates about $1.3 million, and then we have transfers, interest, grants, another $900,000. Expenses, I didn't have sort of the year-to-year comparison with this fund because 2024 was a unique year in this fund. We had a single project in the Clearview Road Bridge, which mercifully reopened before Thanksgiving, that was over $1 million. It was a $1.1 million project. That is not a recurring project this year, so that really kind of throws off any year-to-year comparison. But the major projects we're looking for next year in capital improvement, we've upped our paving program by about $200,000 to $1.3 million. Sanitary sewer lining is standard. Public Works vehicle replacement. Big projects we're kind of looking at that are starting next year in the design phase and then going out will be larger expenses for us. The Wildwood Road Route 8 interchange or intersection, that's $80,000 is our commitment to the preliminary engineering for that project through PennDOT, and then upgrades to Meadow Field, looking at a turf field there. Design of that's about $50,000. Our facilities are seeing a major upgrade in 2025. Pretty much all of them: municipal building, police station, community center, the public works garage, the pool, and a pavilion. Jim, I'm sorry, yours is the only one not on here. Luckily, you're getting a new plan, so don't feel completely left out in the dark. Next slide. The fire fund. This is pretty simple. I just actually had dinner with Mike Pivison and John Schwend. The merger of their departments and the creation of the Hampton Township Volunteer Fire Department is completed. The fire tax generates $380,000. We get Relief Association funds from the state. That is a tax on the premiums for homeowners insurance that's passed through the township to the volunteer firefighters, another $125,000. The biggest thing, not necessarily in this fund, but in this program, is the future public safety facility, which we'll begin planning in late 2025. The stormwater management budget, it's going to be a big year for stormwater management next year, and I was just speaking with Dr. Johnson. I'm probably going to have Adam come at some point in February or March and kind of present on some of these larger projects we're undertaking, so you kind of get a sense of just everything that's going to be underway. We're going to probably start the year between cash balances on hand and revenues that we'll collect over the year. We anticipate at various points having $2 million in this account. It's going to be a big year for spending it, though. Lining and pipe repair is $235,000. Tree removals become a big part of this budget, removing trees along streams that dam up streams and create all kinds of problems for flooding and debris. That's going to be about $100,000. We have some major detention and retention facilities on Oak Brook Court. The Highland Avenue Flood Mitigation Project, that's that problem down there on Ferguson where we're constantly going down during high rain events. We're looking to put in check dams down there to kind of filter some of the debris and eliminate some of the problems we've had in that area. Grouse Run stream bank stabilization. This is it's actually Grouse Run right behind Minio's where the bank is beginning to erode away. We're looking at doing a repair there. Storm sewer projects along Ridgeway Drive, Bowland Drive, Bromlin Court. It's about $300,000. The last two are large projects, and this is going to be really ones that Adam's going to talk a lot about. The Raintree Manor Pond, that's a rehabilitation of that pond. That's probably just the design and permitting is not $100,000, but that's probably where we're going to be working through that process in 2025. That pond takes 110 acres around it. The drainage from 110 acres goes to that one pond. Hidden Pond, which is actually right down off Topnick, it's near Fridley Field. That has another large drainage area. That's design of that pond project. That takes drainage from, I think, 40 to 50 acres of land as well. So these are kind of large projects that have huge impacts that we're going to make progress on in 2025. So kind of closing it out and looking ahead, one of the big points that I know makes the controller happy, the emergency reserve, we have $1 million, and the capital equipment reserve, which is another $1 million. remain untouched in 2025. We will complete the sewage treatment plant project in 2025. We will, and Jim, you're now getting, this is a bad presentation for you, Jim. You're getting an assignment now. You and I are going to work on a plan with the controller for the remaining bond revenues to upgrade the sewer system, depending on what we have left over. And just kind of looking ahead, the point I would make is you look at what we have coming up 2026 and beyond, and these projects are not necessarily going to happen in 26, but they're projects that are out there. That public safety facility is something we've been talking about a long time. It's going to start to move ahead at the end of next year. The Route 8, I mean, that you're probably looking at $9-10 million there. The Route 8 Wildwood intersection, our commitment to that is at least $2 million. The Meadowfield improvements is another $1 to $2 million project possibly. There's large facility upgrades. The community center roof needs rehabilitated. JR at Young, our director of facilities, estimates that's probably about a $500,000 to $550,000 job. We do have debt service that expires in January 2027. So, you know, there's some large capital projects that are out there that we have to find a way to kind of make work within the budget. And the point that I've always made in municipal budgeting is this is the easiest type of budget to present because there's no tax increase involved in it. I mean, that is not a guarantee that in future years there may not be a recommendation for a tax increase based on costs, capital costs, operating costs, emergencies, or what else might come out of them, work its way out of the woodwork. So just things to bear in mind as we move beyond 2025 in terms of what we have going on. That's all I got.
All right, anyone have any questions? That does include the audience. Any questions? All right, then can I have a motion to close the public hearing for the proposed 2025 operating stormwater management and capital improvement budgets?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Fritsch?
Favor.
Mr. Midgley?
Favor.
Mr. Shirley?
Favor.
Ms. Blackburn?
Favor.
Dr. Johnson?
Favor. All right, any other business at this time?
No.
All right, then we will adjourn the public hearing meeting and move directly into our regular agenda meeting. And we'll start with administration.
Yes, the first three items on there are just all related to the budget that we discussed, the real estate millage, the general and other funds budgets, and the capital improvement ordinance. So unless there's any comments, which there weren't any at the hearing, I assume there are none now. Jerry, did you have anything you wanted to add? I mean, my report was not to the extent of yours, but, I didn't know if you had anything you wanted to add.
I think you covered it well.
Okay. The proposals for the 2025 tax and revenue anticipation note, those are due next Tuesday at 1 p.m. So we will have a report to you on and a recommendation as to what firm or what financial institution to go with. 8 financial institutions received copies of that proposal. It's a loan for $1.5 million that covers a lot of our debt service payment in the early part of the year. Okay. The proposed resolution amending the police pension plan, this is something we do on an annual basis. It sets the rate for the full-time officer's contribution to the police pension plans required under Act 600. In 2024, the contribution, as defined in the collective bargaining agreement, was 4.5%. In 2025, it will rise to 5%. Just as a point of, just kind of a note, our current minimum municipal obligation, the normal cost, essentially the percentage that we have to put in of payroll, is 23.5%. So moving it up to 5%, that lessens the amount that would have to come out of the township end and through state aid. So, but it is in our collective bargaining agreement. That will be the contribution. I don't know. Any question?
What's the change again? From
4.5 to
4.5
5%. Yep. Yeah, and I believe under state law, the maximum you can go to is 8% under Act 600. So, Charlie, am I wrong? Not going to say anything. Okay.
I can confirm and get back to you.
So
That's all right.
That's like net neutral.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah. There's, yeah.
how does that compare to other departments, do we know?
You would see 5% as the floor in most departments. I know of other communities where it is 8%, yes. Yeah, where it is the maximum, so.
That's part of the collective bargaining.
Yeah, it is, and that's
So
something
all-
you have to negotiate. Our collective bargaining agreement expires in 2025. We will negotiate in '26, yeah.
Next item?
Yeah, next item is the resolution establishing, on an annual basis, we establish the rates for legal counsel and engineering and consulting services. All of our consulting engineers, Gateway got us basically their rates for '25. Gateway's rates are going up 3.9%. Gateway does our civil. KLH does sanitary, their rates are going up 3%. Trans Associates, our traffic engineer, their rates are 3.3%. Legal, the rate for the partner level went from $225 to $230 an hour. From the associate level was $190 to $195 an hour. PVE did see the largest increase. I know, Dr. Johnson, you reached out to me on that. As it relates to the township, the only engineer who's really assigned us from PVE is Adam Mochtenbaugh. He's a senior engineer one. His rate, their rates as a whole went up significantly. His rate went up about 13%. If you look historically at where they've been, their rates have been on the lower end of the consulting engineer spectrum. I think at 2022, the senior engineer one rate was $125, which I don't know many firms where you can kind of keep that going and maintain personnel. So they did an increase from 22 to 23 that was similar to this in terms of dollar value. They did a much smaller increase from 23 to 24, and then this year, in talking with PVE, this is the last year they see any type of big increase that they feel gets them to the market level. It's something though, if there's any questions, comments, concerns.
What would be a comparable rate from Gateway?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because I was looking at that, because they don't spell the name, they don't spell the positions out equally. I'll have that for you guys, in the admin report coming up on Friday, and I'll discuss it at the next meeting. Because their rates are different. It's like senior technician one, senior technician, yeah, it's not an apples to apples comparison. I would say for what his position is and what I've seen of other firms, the rate of like 175, which is I think where they're in now, is probably about accurate. But I will get you that. I know, Dr. Johnson, you asked for it. I will get you that information as well.
Any other questions? All right, on to the next one.
Yes, the certification of volunteer firefighters eligible for Act 172 to claim local tax credits. I know, Susan, they're reaching out to you. They're good. In talking with Chief Pivison and John Schwend, they're going to get us the information for this. This is something we do on an annual basis, not just for residents who serve in the Hampton Department. There are some residents who also serve in West Deers Department. They get credits on their real estate and earned income tax for their service.
Any questions? All right, next item,
Oh,
please.
good Lord. Okay, the Hampton Rotary HCA agreement for the transfer of HCA funds. So Ms. Burnett discussed this in executive session at after the last meeting. HCA is seeking to disband, and under IRS rules, and Ms. Fritsch, you can correct me if I'm wrong about this, because I know this is kind of like in your wheelhouse. They must transfer their funds to an eligible nonprofit organization. The funds that are held in HCA are the result mainly of the golf outing that the township has done historically, and they are to be spent on projects in the community park. Right now, HCA holds about just over $72,000. The eligible nonprofit that they're looking to transfer the money to is the Hampton Rotary Foundation. This agreement acknowledges the transfer of that money with the intent of it to be spent in a manner consistent with what the HCA's mission was, to be spent by the end of 2025. Susan, if you feel free to chime in here if you want. I know there's a memorial that they still have that they need to spend money on, but we're anticipating that there'll be about $50,000 in there for park projects at some point in 25. Is that Feel free to add.
That's correct. Yes. As soon as Hal English is still working on the names for the Golf War plaque, he's going to be adding something in the next Hampton magazine, looking for a final push on anybody who wants to be included on that plaque. And then sometime in 2025, he will have that plaque made. I'm not sure the cost. He's in the process of getting a price for that plaque. And then we're looking to spend the rest of the money in 2025 on Parks and Rec projects. There's the Storybook Trail along the Community Park Trail. We're looking at that and something else, possibly the playground. So it will definitely be used in 2025.
So, and the agreement's been reviewed by legal. I know, yeah, the legal counsel and I had a long discussion on it, but yeah, I think we're both comfortable with where we're at now. Okay.
Any questions?
So the use of those funds is determined by the township with acceptance by Rotary?
With
no?
consent of Rotary, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
And the funds must be spent before year end?
Yes.
25. What happens if they are not?
They will be.
That's
Not
gonna
an
be a
option.
problem.
All right.
Yeah, I think honestly, it would just be in everyone's interest to just have them spent purely for IRS reporting rules.
Yeah.
It's just gonna make it easier on Rotary.
There's
It's
no
gonna- yeah.
penalties or anything like
No.
that? Okay.
No, but the Rotary is kind of stepping up to the plate because Hal English is a member of both Rotary and the HCA, and that's the nature of this relationship and why it's allowed this to happen. So, yeah, we're just trying to do, Rotary's doing us a favor, we're trying to do them a favor of getting this off their books quickly.
We just need someone to hold the money. They're a nonprofit.
All right, any other questions? Dan, you look like you still have a question.
No, I'm good. Thanks.
All right, next item then, please.
Yes, just seeking authorization to advertise the 2025 organizational meeting of Township Council for Monday, January 6, 2025 at 7 p.m. And Mr. Omasini would like to know if you'd be willing to consider moving all council meetings to 7 p.m. So, you know, something you can kick around.
Everybody else says it.
You mean like for the rest of the year? Yeah. Oh, Rob. I thought I was compromising. I would prefer 8.
Rob,
Oh,
All right,
no.
we'll stick with 7:30 then.
Rob,
I'd be happy
I like
with
that
7.
negotiation.
Rob, yeah.
It was nice.
Rob, I warned you of where that was going to go. You asked, though. So, but yes, that's.
Yeah, actually, we already know
I
with your
couldn't-
board
I
meetings, you
couldn't do
could
it.
not
No,
do
I
7.
didn't think
do it.
so.
Couldn't do it.
Sorry, Rob.
January 6th will be at 7 o'clock. Don't ask me
Yes.
why that one's at 7 instead of 7:30.
I asked that last year, but I don't remember what the answer was.
Are they always at 7? The
Yeah,
first one?
It's
Yes.
always
It
at
is.
7.
And it's always on
Yeah.
Monday.
And it's always,
And it's
always on
always the
the
first
Monday.
Monday.
I know that's a
yeah,
thing.
That's that's
Yeah.
That's,
state law.
Just
can't change that.
It's usually football.
Huh?
I thought last year was sports
Yeah.
related.
Was it really?
I think that's what was said.
Gotta be home by
Usually
8.
big games that night.
No.
All right. Any other questions
No.
or comments on that?
I'm done.
All right, nothing else for admin?
Yeah.
All right, public safety, please.
Okay. I would like to ask council to authorize the hiring of a part-time officer. We have Brian Williams, who is currently on the full-time eligibility list. He is in the academy right now. He will obtain his ACT certification for 120 at the end of the year here when he graduates. He is willing to accept a part-time position with our department. This would be until probably Sergeant Halley, Sergeant Halley will retire in June. And with him being a veteran, Brian being a veteran and everything, he would move into that full-time slot. And he would be the last eligible candidate that we have because our list is currently expired. He's the only one left on it. So I would ask council to authorize the hiring, a conditional offer of employment to Brian Williams, pending his Act 120 certification, passing the state exam, passing a psychological, passing a physical, And if all those come into play, I would ask for a starting date of January 13th as a part-time officer in the department.
Any questions?
When's he graduate?
He will graduate Friday next week.
Okay, very
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. Then he will take his test the following week, and he'll know whether he passed the state exam, and we'll be good to go.
All right, awesome.
Anything else for public safety?
I actually do, and I apologize because it's not on the agenda. It was my mistake, I didn't get it added. But next week, or the next council meeting, we would like to invite the Mrs. Claus Club to come in, because we did the No Shave November and through December, and we would like to present them with a donation check for the money that was collected for No Shave November. So I'd like to be able to do that at the next council meeting right before Christmas.
All right,
That's all I have.
all right. Community services.
I'll just do the guide rail run, yeah, real quick. The bids are due for the guide rail on Monday, next Monday at 10 a.m. This is part of the grant we got through the Automated Red Light Enforcement Program. So this is the second phase of it, in addition to the rumble strips are already completed. Depending on what pricing comes back, we may see about possibly doing guide rail in other locations in the township to expend the entirety of the grant funds and get the maximum match we can for it. So we'll know more on Monday.
Any questions? All right, item B, please.
Good evening. The next item on the agenda is the 2025 road resurfacing program. Upon approval of the 25 budget, I'm requesting authorization to advertise for the road paving program. It will be on council's February regular agenda for possible award of contracts.
All right, any questions? All right, next item, please.
The next item is a request to purchase a CAT 305 mini excavator and jackhammer. The 2025 capital improvement budget does call for this piece of equipment. The current one is 6 years old, and we use it almost on a daily basis. All of our other CAT equipment is on 5-year leases. This one we do purchase outright. They do have this equipment in stock right now. They do have one. So after council approves the 25 budget, I would like to pursue the purchase of the one that they have in stock.
Any questions?
Susan, for the next item, it specifically called out that we sell it. Is that like a trade-in to CAT on this one?
Yes,
They take
that
our
was a
old one?
trade-in.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions? All right, next item then, please.
The next item is a request to purchase an F600 Ford dump truck, cab dump truck, and the hopper and spreader along with the plow. This will replace a 2012 Ford F550. It is in the capital budget for the replacement.
Any questions?
I'll just offer the comment that the transfer that we're planning to make on our surplus at the end of the year basically is funding these items rather than taking the money out of the capital
Equipment,
fund,
yeah.
capital equipment fund, yeah, so. Yeah, so normally I would be concerned, do we have the money, in the fund because, the tax is the biggest generator of that, but as we are starting the year with a higher balance in that fund, we should be good.
All right, thank you.
The only point I would make is we probably won't make the first payment on this for some time, and then the truck itself, I mean, the lead time on the truck, 13 months maybe if we're lucky?
Yes, we will see it next October, November. Same as the one that we ordered. We just got it in about a month ago.
Yeah. Yeah, so the payments on this will be spaced out substantially.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else for community services? All right, environmental services then, please.
Thank you, Madam President. At our next meeting, we'll be requesting authorization for 2 change orders. The first change order, number 13, it is for the modification to install sound attenuation to the exhaust fan equipment located on the roof of the new Headworks building. The total cost associated with the modifications is $14,080.59.
And you are confident this will resolve the homeowner's noise issues?
Engineering believes it will, through their expertise. I certainly hope that is the case.
Okay.
Not having any expertise in sound attenuation devices, going off the experts. So we're hoping this is a one and done.
All right.
So,
Any questions? All right,
the second change order, it's actually 4-part. It's 4 specific items to help get things cleaned up. The first is the office garage upper workshop monorail door. This is a door for the 2nd floor. We're utilizing that for storage within the garage space. It is a specialized steel door that allows a monorail I-beam rail to go through it to allow for closing. We certainly need a door for safety, so someone doesn't fall, 20-plus feet to a concrete floor. So that door is $21,902.53 for the door and installation. The next is for the dewatering building centrifuge hydraulic pump support system. This is a steel structure that needed to be incorporated due to changes to the hydraulic system. That was for $5,120.57. The next is the office garage interior fixed window. This is a specialized window for SCADA, for staff to be able to see through the wall. It's $2,843.83. And the digester building flood door. This is our original primary clarifier building. It's the only building that's being repurposed. The elevation of that door currently is actually below the 500-year floodplain. So we are making sure that we are protecting that building for all of its infrastructure. That specialized system for the door and the flood control mechanisms for it are $18,865.87. And the total change order total is $48,732.80.
all right, any questions? All right, anything else for environmental services?
Just one other item I wanted to bring to council's attention. In the last few days, we had one of our local contractors who is working on the Four Seasons property reach out to us with a request for a possible expedited schedule to allow for the sanitary sewer takeover portion of the requirement for that development. And that is required prior to sanitary taps to be allowed for building to begin. We spent a good bit of time, the manager, legal counsel, Amanda's team, and myself, reviewing all the possible options, looking at scheduling from December and January to see if that was feasible. And unfortunately, there's really nothing that we could do to speed up that process due to the holidays and the scheduling we have this month and next month. So I'll be reaching out to them tomorrow to make them aware of that.
Do you know why they were requesting that?
I think they have sales of properties starting to come in, and they're wanting to lock that stuff up as quickly as possible. And unfortunately, this is one of the requirements that is there on the front side. It is very well spelled out in the agreement, the developer's agreement that was established early on.
Yeah. And it sounds like they don't even have the inspections necessarily lined
do
up
not.
with KLH yet. I mean, they didn't even have the for takeover of the sanitary. So even assuming those tests went perfectly, it would have been incredibly difficult to try to make this happen. That assumes that none of those manholes, as Mr. Degnan has made very clear to me, one of those manholes
can't
might
fail.
pop, and then you have to retest all over again. So
Yeah, there's a lot of testing that is required.
Yeah.
And there's no guarantees that they're perfect.
Yeah.
So
And the
even
weather's
if they
the weather's not their friend right now either.
True. And the reality is the schedule for the month of December is nobody's friend. Getting people to get things taken care of this month is very difficult.
yeah, and they, in fairness to Jim and Amanda and legal counsel got involved as well. They all tried to make this work. Well, I mean, there were multiple ways you tried to skin this cat, and we just couldn't do it. So,
What
sorry,
is-
bad
What is the
analogy.
expectation that we can complete this?
If they're able to get everything done in December, hopefully they can go to the advertisement process in January with a possible takeover in February. The goal was to try to move it up a month,
Yeah.
and we were just not able to do that.
No.
Okay.
It's unrealistic, unfortunately.
All right, anything else?
I have nothing else, unless there are questions.
Zoning and planning then, please.
Okay, thank you, Madam President. So the first item we have tonight is the Fry Cane Pioneer Place application. We are at a point where we're ready to actually discuss this tonight and look at a vote next week. So I know it's been a while since you guys had the preliminary plan in front of you, so just to summarize some of the changes that have been underway while they've been going through the review process. South Pioneer Road will be widened by 2 feet so that they can put in a 12-inch wedge curb. And part of the reason for that is they're going to be picking up the stormwater runoff that's just flowing off of South Pioneer Road uncontrolled right now. So they've eliminated the culverts and the trench drains that were previously in all of the driveways. And now they're just going to be picking up all of that water and funneling that into the through inlets into their basin. So they'll also be picking up the overflow runoff from Windmont Farms. So when you took all that together, I was talking to Adam Machenbaugh with PBE today. He said that the net benefit for the site is enough that it offsets the changes that they've made due to the new houses. So he has said that this plan is ready for approval. All of their items are taken care of. Gateway as well has reviewed this and they are recommending approval. I talked to Joe today just to make sure that there was nothing outstanding he could think of, which there was not. They have a proposal right now to repave half of South Pioneer Road, the half that is running along their frontage. So we have some discussions with legal counsel that are underway right now, and I had Gateway look at the amount of disturbance, and we will make sure that whatever we can enforce under our road opening permit that we do go for. So there's a percentage, if they disturb over a certain percentage, that we may be able to ask for a curb-to-curb repave. So that's what we're having Gateway and legal counsel look at right now. Another concern that council had previously was regarding the noise. So they did add several soundproofing measures. They're using spray foam instead of traditional rolled insulation. They have acoustic caulking they're using for all of the windows and all door jambs and all of that. They're using hurricane windows and putting in storm doors. So all of that we had reviewed by the township's third-party building inspector. And he is not an acoustic expert, you know, as Mr. Degnan also said, but yeah, but he said in his experience, those do constitute extra soundproofing measures from what you would be required to do. So they have addressed that, in my opinion, as well, and we will also put a covenant in the HOA language, and we will put something in the deeds as well that says that the township will not be pursuing any additional soundproofing measures, whether that be a wall or landscaping along the turnpike there. So at this point, Gateway, PVE, KLH, and Trans Associates have all reviewed this. They are all signing off on it and recommending approval. Planning Commission and EAC will be viewing it next week for their final meetings. And then I anticipate, unless something unforeseen comes up at one of those meetings, I would be recommending approval next week. So obviously subject to conditions. The applicant is here. If you have any questions for him or myself, or if you would like to see the plans again, I believe he has some he could show you.
Does anyone have any questions at this time?
I just have kind of a general overview question. So, making the assumption we have approval and you have the go-ahead, what kind of timeline are you looking at for development of the land? I know you got to do a lot of work to just get it ready for plots and things like that.
Oh,
so, what kind of timeline are you looking at to start work and start putting plots up for sale and things like that?
I would say, I'm David Lucci, I'm from Victor Wetzel Associates. We already have an NPDS permit for this site. We have to ask for a modification to the NPDS. So that's going to take at least 3 or 4 months. So I would think in the spring it would probably be breaking ground.
Okay. And then from there, when do you think the sites are gonna be ready for showing, or are you gonna just start straight
I
away?
would say that probably end of summer, we could probably look at, being able to show, graded out enough to start, installing the houses.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Thank you for coming this evening.
Thank you.
All right, item B.
Okay, the next item is the Minio lot consolidation. This is a relatively minor application. I apologize, I don't have a better plan for you than this, but in this, you can see it, but it has all these notations on here. But the general idea is this is Wildwood Road, this is the Minio's Pizza Kitchen here, which I'm sure everyone's familiar with. The property owner would like to consolidate this with the existing parcel in the back that is housing this former single-family dwelling. So they're gonna tear that house down, consolidate all the lots. I think his long-term goal is to put outdoor seating back there that would kind of overlook the lake, or the lake, Neil O'Donnell. Yeah, the creek.
Anyone have any questions? All right. Next item, please.
Okay, the next item is another easy one. We had this Indian Spring Lane simple subdivision that was approved earlier this year. They didn't get their plan recorded within 30 days, or 90 days. So that's what's required by the county. If you go beyond that, you have to have the governing body reapprove it. So no real issues with this. The plan has not changed at all since you saw it last. I would just be asking that you reapprove it next week.
Any questions? All right.
And then just my last item, we talked about this last month. I would just ask so that we can keep the schedule that we're going for with Strategic Solutions, that the council formally appoints their members to the steering committee so that we can have our first steering committee meeting in January. It would probably be January 20th, 21st, or 22nd, depending on availability.
All right, and thank you both, Mr. Midgley and Ms. Fritsch, for volunteering to be our representation on that committee. All right, anything else for zoning and planning?
I do not, unless there are questions.
All right, other business.
Santa's Sparktacular Holiday Event, trademark of Hampton Township. It's tomorrow night, 7 to 9. Hope to see everyone there.
It's going to be the coldest night so far, isn't it?
Don't the food trucks start at 6:30?
Yes, and the dance show starts at 6:45?
Yes. Yes.
And Santa shows up at 7?
No, we do the fireworks at 7 and then Santa shows up?
That's an excellent question that Ms. Martino will certainly be able to answer.
You're going to be outside and it's going to be cold. That's pretty
Susan,
much
do you have
what
anything you want to add? I mean, you might be a little more familiar with it.
Pretty sure the fireworks begin first, and then they bring Santa in after the fireworks.
That's what I thought.
Yes.
All right, hope to see you all there tomorrow night. And then, of course, the Santa Claus tour with the fire department, December 14th.
And they have asked if I would be willing to be Santa. I'm still checking with my schedule. I'm very serious about that. They did ask. I told them I'd check with my schedule. But that actually kind of leads into something under other business. It's not on here. You all got my email about it, though, over the weekend. The fire department had approached me. They are looking to replace, they have a 2009 Pierce aerial truck. It's going to reach the end of its useful life over the next couple years. The NFPA, National Fire Protection Association, their typical time frame for fire apparatus is like 15 to 20 years. They are looking to purchase a truck from either Sutphen or Spartan, who are two truck companies, fire truck apparatus companies, for in the neighborhood of $1.8 million. They had asked if we could submit a grant for them, similar to what we did with North Hills Community Outreach last month to the statewide LSA program for the purchase of the truck. I was able, in talking with the people who do the statewide LSA program, they were willing. We're not the only ones who've done this. They're willing to take applications with a draft resolution of council, which I did submit on Saturday. They are looking for Our request is for $800,000 for this truck. The resolution I was hoping to put on the next council meeting to affirm that grant application. It does not commit the township at this time to funding the purchase of the truck in another way, though. Jerry, I think you, and the firefighters are going to be sitting down talking about how they want to finance this thing. The request is for $800,000. $1.8 million, I did speak with firefighters I'd worked with in the past. That's about the going rate for an aerial fire truck right now. Their current truck that they bought, that 2009 Pierce, is a demo truck, which means it had already had some miles on it by the time they purchased it. The engine is very undersized. I know you probably all got my email. The engine's undersized, and beyond that, they deal with issues with the truck's body. It has dissimilar metals, areas where aluminum and stainless steel come together that create galvanized corrosion or rust. So the truck does need replaced. The resolution for that grant application will be on the next council meeting. I don't know if anyone has any questions about the truck or anything that I can answer as it relates to that resolution. Any heartburn, Mr. Speakman?
Yes, heartburn?
Heartburn.
Those are,
Well,
go ahead.
just don't, this is new territory for me.
Okay.
Okay, we've never, the township, to my knowledge, or at least since I have been here in 2008, we, through the fire,
Yes.
give the money to the fire departments. We don't finance or get involved with anything in terms of the purchase of equipment.
No.
So that's the discussion we haven't had, and, you know, how that all plays out and how they finance it and pay
Yeah.
for it and where those monies come from.
And the point I would make is this grant application, just specifically this grant application, is similar to the NHCO grant, where we are simply acting, the volunteer fire company cannot apply as they're a nonprofit. We're simply sponsoring their grant
Yes,
application.
yeah.
So,
And-
you know,
and-
there's no
and In a
commitment.
sense, we are guaranteeing the funding.
Well, through the fire tax in a roundabout way, if you would want to look at it that way, yes, you are correct. Yes. Yes. I do think there will have to be discussions we have, given the cost of fire apparatus and how much it's gone up. Pumpers used to cost about $500,000. They're now in the $800,000 range. Aerial trucks used to cost $1 million. They're about double that now. I do think there'll be discussion we have to have
Have they
about.
acquired any other equipment in the
No.
last
They
15 years?
they did acquire a pumper that they purchased. I believe it was also from the same company, Sutphen, which Sutphen and Spartan are both on the CoStars program, so they're at least going through the proper government procurement
Yeah.
policies. But yes, they did. I shouldn't say they acquired it. They purchased it. It's being manufactured. Even the time frame on this aerial,
Yeah.
if they would agree to it tomorrow, it's 25 to 27 months
Oh my
before
gosh.
they. That's not bad. One of the other companies they're looking at, Seagrave, the lead time on those is 4 years. Yeah.
And do we anticipate that there will be a reduction in equipment?
They are reducing their equipment, yes. Yes. Yeah. That was a discussion we had tonight. They'll actually be selling 2 pieces of apparatus, should they acquire this, both their 2009 Pierce aerial and then another pumper that they have. So they are reducing their equipment, yes, in light of the merger.
Yeah. And everything being housed in one building
Yes.
So-
At some point.
at some point.
So with the grant and the sale of the equipment, we might be halfway to the new.
Their gap right now, assuming what they assume in return for the sale of the aerial and the other pumper, they're looking right now at a funding gap, not including the grant, of about $600,000. Okay? So if they're able to get this grant, and we were just talking about financing options and what they're looking at, there's a state fire commissioner's grant or loan that they can get that's a very low interest loan. And then they were looking at private loans, and, you know, we can kind of have a discussion with them about how we might be able to help them structure that to limit the interest penalties or the interest costs, so, yeah.
Sounds a little more manageable.
Yes, yeah, but that's kind of the gap they're looking at right now.
I had understood, though, that the LSA grant, like, even though I think the grant awards can go up to $1 million, their average award is like between $250,000 and $500,000.
That is correct,
Okay,
yes.
yeah,
I
okay.
didn't get too greedy going for the full $1 million. I
Right.
figured if we applied for 8, I
Yeah.
couldn't tell you what we're gonna get,
Okay.
but, yeah,
All right.
you are correct. No.
All right, I just have one other thing I had asked, at some point recently, what other boards are in need, have open appointments that we need to consider? You know, Hampton Shayla Water Authority has an open position. Thank you for recommending
Yep.
the one candidate. And if everyone is in agreement with that candidate, the Hampton Shayla Water Authority would like to invite him to a meeting this weekend.
Objection.
Okay.
No objection.
But what other boards do we have openings for?
We just sent the letters out Monday ago.
Zoning hearing?
They have exposed space for an alternate.
Yeah.
DAC has space for 2 now, 2
Okay.
people. Planning Commission's full up.
Okay, thank you. All right, anyone else have anything for other business? All right, then I will adjourn this meeting. Thank you, everyone, for coming this evening.
I'm bringing my space heater next time.
Yeah, it's cold.
Bye, Sue.
Right.
Amanda, I have a question for you.
Yes.
I didn't want to ask it on the record because I do not want to open that can of worms again, but you mentioned